It has been about a month since Phyrexia All-Will-Be-One has come out, and with it, plenty of new cards. The set introduced the Toxic and Oil mechanics, along with Corrupted and the return of Proliferate, which we have not seen in Standard since War of the Spark. There are also like 10 different art treatments because we gotta milk that Phyrexia cash cow as much as we can, Anyways, the cards have been around long enough that we have seen how they have impacted the metagame across formats now that the cards have been experimented with. Some were a bit overhyped, while others were shining stars with cross-format success. Before we begin, if you enjoyed this video, do leave it a like, comment, subscribe, because that's the thing I have to say. Anyways, back to the video. Let's get the most obvious winner of All-Will-Be-One out of the way first, and that's Atraxa Grand Unifier. This card is fucking nuts. You're rarely casting it for the 7 mana, but cheating it out instead. This is mostly done with reanimation spells such as Reanimate in Legacy or the Cruelty of Gix in Standard. Other ways it's being cheated out with is with Indomitable Creativity in Pioneer and Modern. Sees even seeing Vintage play has a target for Oath of Druid decks. Now what makes Atraxa such a good card? Let's look at the effect. It has Flying, Vigilance, Death Touch, and Lifelink, allowing you to put a rather large threat on the board that can kill basically anything and heal the life you lose by cheating it out. Even though this is all great, this is basically just a bonus effect to the main event, and that's your Enter the Battlefield effect. Atraxa lets you reveal the top 10 cards of your deck, and lets you put a card of each type into your hand. This can hit a whopping 8 different cards, well technically 7 since battles don't exist yet. This is better than simply drawing 8 cards, as you get to choose what goes into your hand. It lets you pick and choose what you want to end up with, and reduces a bit of the randomness that comes with simply drawing them. While you can't double up on card types, being able to be so selective is what makes Atraxa so strong. If you have ways to blink it or keep bringing it back after it dies, this allows you to repeatedly use the effect, which effectively lets you constantly have a hand filled with cards that can answer any given game state. Atraxa is phenomenal, and with so many ways to cheat it out across just about every format she's legal in, it's gonna see a ton of play for years. Let's go over boring one real fast. Fastland reprints, basically good for Pioneer because the ally fastlands weren't legal in the format till now. They're just lands so there's no excitement, but they're good lands because they're duels that can enter untapped, efficient but boring to talk about, so let's just move on. Speaking of Pioneer, one of the biggest decks to make it out of the All-Will-Be-One is Gruul Vehicles. Gruul Vehicles is a solid mid-range deck that was already showing some decent results, but with the Gruul Fastlands coming out as well as Myglaws, Maze Crusher, the deck got a huge boost in playability. For 3 mana, you have a creature that can crew all your vehicles you play, and it's a solid creature on its own with a lot of versatility. You can boost its stats, make it harder to block by giving it menace, and in the pinch use it as artifact and enchantment removal. Since the Gruul Vehicle deck often runs low mana creatures, it slots in perfectly while remaining a solid stat line and giving the deck another avenue where it doesn't need to rely on its vehicles to close out games. It's also a solid choice in the good, albeit weaker Gruul aggro deck that forgoes vehicles in favor of creatures, acting as a way to make it easier to swing through for lethal damage. I love me some Boggles, and Skrelv Defector might help that deck make it to Grand Finals of Pro Tour Phyrexia. Skrelv is a fantastic 1-drop, and even though it can't block, has become a staple of Boggles and White Weenie decks. Skrelv can tap itself to make something hexproof from a color, as well as unable to be blocked by creatures of that color. Since you can pay Phyrexian mana for it, you never need mana up to actually use this effect, just 2 life points to pay. Skrelv makes it so you basically have to use removal on it before using it on a creature you'd actually want to use it on, as Skrelv can just protect any creature. Since it's only a 1-drop, you can get Skrelv active as early as turn 2, and sort of a fatal push or a cut down, odds are your opponent isn't going to have removal for Skrelv that early in the game, making sure it's no longer summoning sick to protect whatever important creature you want to play next. In Boggles decks that want one creature loaded on auras, Skrelv especially shines as it forces removal to be focused on Skrelv, and on the light path that suddenly has become a 15/15 out of nowhere. A lot of the 1 cards are super, so let's look at super friends. Planeswalkers. Almost all the Planeswalkers have some sort of niche, but there are a few that are better than others. Tyvar, Jubilant Brawler, is excellent, so much so that Tyvar covers half his name. It lets you use a creature's ability to turn it enters as if it had haste. While this doesn't give them haste directly, you can immediately use the effects of something like a Blood Tithe Harvester or a Priest of Forgotten Goods. Both these cards see success in Pioneer Sacrifice decks, as well as the Vizier combo deck in Modern, utilizing Vizier of Remedies to go infinite with Devoted Druid to make infinite green mana. Even if one of these combo pieces ever dies, since they're only 2 mana, Tyvar can get them out from your graveyard, or let you use Devoted Druid to turn and hit the battlefield. It's a 3-card combo made much more consistent by Tyvar, letting you speed things up. You don't need Tyvar, it just adds much welcome consistency to a combo deck, which is what a combo deck wants the most. Let's take a step back into a format I've not talked about, Pauper. The commons in All-Will-Be-One particularly shine with the infect mechanic, namely cards that do proliferating. It's created an entirely new way of playing infect. Storm. One of the best cards out of this set for the format is Experimental Augury, which lets you proliferate poison counters while giving extra counters to Pentad Prism to basically never run out of mana, and using lands like Peat Bog to always have lands you can tap for 2 mana. Yes, these lands you've probably never even heard of are playable in Pauper now. Pauper's so cool, isn't it? Experimental Augury is good for the proliferate of course, but being able to dig through 3 cards of your deck at instant speed is kind of what pushes it over the edge to make it a solid contender in the metagame. It even works with traditional infect decks as a game ender to get those last few poison counters in once your opponent starts stabilizing. Wrapping up there seems like a good point. There are a few honorable mentions like Kemba Conduring that gives a boost to Hammer Time decks in Modern and Pioneer has a way to equip Colossus Hammer, and Mercurial Spelldancer that's seeing experimentation in Delver List and Legacy. All the Dominus are solid for Commander decks that want them, but I opted to forego Commander cards since I wanted to focus on more traditional constructed formats. So with that, we've reached the end of the video. I did something a little out of the ordinary from my usual content, so hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I've been JakePig, thank you for watching.